Hello everyone, Naz Shabazz from InvoZone here, and welcome to another episode of InvoTalks. Before we begin, I would just like to remind you that InvoZone is a software development and consultation company. We provide remote teams of software developers in the difficult to find tech stacks such as Elixir, React, ROR, Laravel. We also provide blockchain development services under the name InvoBlocks and game development services under the name InvoGames. And today, my guest is Haichao Zhu. He is the co-founder of Rooch, a layer 2 solution that combines modular design with Move language in Ethereum for security. He's going to explain exactly what that is. So, Zhu, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for having me.
All right, let's begin with the Rooch. Kind of make me understand the extra layer of security. That's how I am understanding it with the combination of the two. So could you explain this modular design with the Move language in Ethereum?
Sure. So the idea was originated from the concept called modular blockchain, which was first proposed by Celestia. And the idea of modular blockchain is that instead of having all the functionalities of a single blockchain into a single piece of software, what if we just decouple each of these functions into a separated components and link them together with different parties providing different functionalities so that each party can do better on their component. And we adopt that idea, and what we are building and what we are offering to this modular blockchain schema is an execution layer. So what it means is that we provide an environment for developers to build their dApps and to run their dApps. And this environment will be connected to different layers, such as data availability layer, and this could be provided by Celestia or Eigen layer or Polygon Avio, and there are a lot of other solutions out there. And it will also be connected to a consensus layer where this layer will be providing the security for the full network. And in our case, we will be choosing Ethereum. And the rationale behind that is quite simple because Ethereum has the highest market cap right now, and the market cap equals the security of that. And in addition, there's also settlement layer. And for settlement layer, the function for them is to store all the states and to store all the assets. So by connecting to a settlement layer, we can enable the assets from that layer to be transferred into the Rooch environment and withdrawn from that environment to that original layer. And in our case, one of the technologies that we're going to provide for developers is called multi-chain settlement. So what it does is that we will be able to support multiple layer ones as settlement layer in the same time. So by the end of the day, for any dApps who developed on top of Rooch, the user will be able to use MetaMask to operate assets from Ethereum in that dApp. And in the same time, they will also be able to use, for example, Phantom from Solana ecosystem to operate Solana assets in the same dApp. And these two types of assets from two different chains, there's a seamless interoperability between them. You can buy the Solana NFT with your Ether directly in the same marketplace. So that's kind of the effect that we're going after right now. And all the technologies behind this one is enabled by the concept of a modular blockchain, and also it involves the idea of how to ensure security of a layer 2. But I think that'll be for a more in-depth conversation, Dewey.
Okay, how has the response been so far about the Rooch network? And considering the market is very volatile, I mean, it has always been volatile, but these days it's a bit too much. So what has been the response?
I think the response, we have received responses from two aspects. One is we've been doing fundraising, and also we've been trying to expand our ecosystems. Although we don't have the testnet yet, but we've been trying to talk with different partners, different projects that we know, and to get feedbacks from them. So in terms of fundraising, I think for us, it's been pretty tough, I have to say that, because in this bear market, there's no easy job around fundraising. Working with different projects who are building on top of Aptos and Sui, because we are also using Move Virtual Machine and we share the same smart contract language. So the projects and developers who are on Aptos 3 right now, those are the easiest customers for us to talk with. And based on the conversation we had, I think most of them really like what Rooch is trying to do right now. And I think the biggest catch for them is that we provide them an access to the Ethereum ecosystem, to the Solana ecosystem, and to a broader ecosystem, so that they can deploy their dApp once on our platform. Then their users can potentially be from multiple ecosystems. And this is something that a lot of the dApps, they will eventually do no matter what. So one way or another. So they either deploy their dApp on different chains one at a time by rebuilding their whole code base according to that chain's environment, or we are offering them a new solution where they can deploy their dApp again just for once on our platform, and then they are immediately accessing all the different layer ones at the same time. Their user will be using the original wallets. They will be operating all the native assets, but they can do it all together in their dApp. And this is something that we find really attractive to them.
Which route are you taking for fundraising, and where exactly are you getting the most response? Like, do you target a specific region, or these tech events, crypto events, where you get the chance to probably talk to a couple of hundred or maybe 1,000 people live, and then that's broadcasted? How has that worked out if you have used those platforms?
So on the fundraising side, we have talked with more than 100 investors, private investors, and it was being done by, well, there was some online meetings, mostly online meetings, and we also had some offline meetings. I went to the East Stanford. I also went to, the Web3 Summit in Hong Kong. Those are two occasions for me to meet a lot of investors. And besides that, we also got some friends introducing our projects to different VCs. So that's how we met them. And for the ecosystem side, so mostly we also attended some events, right? So some hackathons hosted by Aptos and Sui. And also there are some online events that we also attended. That's one of the sources that we know them. Another source of connections was basically my personal connections. So I've spent 5 years working at 4 different layer 1 projects as DevRel. So my job was mainly to engage with the developers. I have accumulated some connections over the years, so I have these connections directly. And on the ecosystem side, we have talked with I think 30 projects for now, and we have received the positive feedbacks from I think around 70 to 80% from all of them. So which gives us a lot of confidence on building this project further.
How early did you get into the world of crypto and blockchain? Do you remember the year?
Yeah, I remember the year. It was 2018, April 23rd.
What got you?
Well, before I got into the crypto, I was trying to apply for a PhD position at MIT, and I failed. I received the rejection letter on April 22nd, and on April 23rd, I had a call with one of my friends who sent me the white paper of Bitcoin and also Ethereum, and I was very attracted to that. So on that day, I decided to join crypto, and on the next day, I had a job interview with my first crypto company called Cryptape. It was a company focused on building private chains for enterprise solutions, and they also moved on to build a public blockchain called Nervos. So that was my first job. I worked there for 2 years, and then after Nervos, I joined Solana for a pretty brief of time. So I worked at Solana, I think, for 3 or 4 months. I threw up some meetups for them for their road trip in China for fundraising. And then after that, I decided to join Algorand as a full-time DevRel. So that job actually continued for 3 years. And I just left Algorand January this year. And after Algorand, I actually joined Aptos. So this is that's kind of the brief story. So I joined Aptos. I worked there for 2 months, and I met my current partner, the other co-founder of the Rooch project, and we talked about the idea, and we thought about it. Although we know this is a bear market and it's not a very good time to start fundraising, but well, we just did it, and now this is where we are now.
Yeah, I was going to just follow that up. Since 2018, you have seen a lot of ups and downs in the world of crypto. How do you predict? I mean, of course, no one can actually predict, but how do you see or envision 2024 unfolding regarding blockchain? Especially there's like the onslaught of AI as well. It's just kind of overshadowing everything right now. So how do you envision 2024?
I think just like AI, so every single technologies, they will have a dark time, they will have a bright time, and it's just on and off, constantly happening. I back then, before I joined crypto, I was working on AI actually. I spent quite a lot of time working at Microsoft doing language processing, natural language programming, things like that. But it's just the concept of Web3 to me. Well, back then there was no concept of Web3, but nowadays the concept of Web3 really attracts me because I think it's finally revolutionized the way how people works. So I think this is something that's unlike AI, which gives you a straightforward impression when you are using this technology. You know that this is really cool. But for Web3, what I'm feeling is like um, uh, how people work right now is, is just people are working for centralized authorities. And the concept of Web3 and also the concept of DAO, that's something that really excites me. So what if we can work at several different projects at the same time, and we can work on the best part that interests us, and we can earn some money that can meet, that'd be something really cool to me. And that's the initial idea for me. And as time goes by, I started to learn more concepts. And after the DeFi summer and after the art NFT stuff, that I felt like this industry actually is very innovative. So it's not like it's not like everyone's just trading tokens for no reasons. There are still some people working on innovative things, and I know these people, and I feel like working among them really makes me proud of myself and also them. So that's kind of the spirit I am having right now, insisting on staying in this industry.
How far into the future do you see Web3 actually materializing? It's futuristic, and I don't mean adaptability or people accepting it. People want to accept it, but probably the power that's required to actually have a real economy associated with Metaverse and Web3, it's kind of into the future. It's not right now. Do you agree with that? And what's your take on it in terms of future development of the real economy in Web3 or Metaverse?
Well, as you mentioned, it's very hard to predict the future, but me and my team, we have discussed about this internally, and we felt like, I think 2024, or should we say the next bull market, it's going to be a great chance for Web3. I have actually seen some great products that even ourselves are using as a daily debt to work with. As an example, right now we are using a DAO management tool called DWork, and we are using that to manage all the tasks. And it's not exactly a Web3 project yet, but it's on the way that it gives us inspirations on how people should work together right now. It's not just about using crypto as payments, but using tokens to represent data, to represent the rights, and to make things more seamless and frictionless. That's something that I have seen in some depths, and I'm really not sure whether 2024 will be the year for that, but I can see the trend. That's what I can see.
Do you think Web3 is going to completely replace Web2? And let me build actually the context of this question, because we have a lot of debate within our own company and peers and friends. And I had this talk with my CEO, and he mentioned that Web 2.0 is here to stay for the foreseeable future. For example, these days, a lot of businesses are investing money into AI products and apps, but 90% of the work, the platform itself, it's going to be a mobile app or desktop app. It's going to be in Web 2.0, and the AI or machine learning engine is just going to be some portion of it. How do you see all of this equation, Web 2.0 versus 3?
I'm actually right. So first thing first, I think it also depends on the definition of Web3. For example, if this Zoom call they integrate crypto tokens for payment, do we consider it a Web3 product, right? So I think it's to some degrees. There will always be some Web3 products that people use on a daily basis, but will it replace Web2? Um, I well, I'm not sure.
No.
I'm not sure. That's a very complicated question, I think. Will Web2 die? I feel like if someone tells me that if someone tells me that there's a Web3 product equivalent of Zoom, and asks me to use that and tell me to replace the current Zoom software, my answer right now will be no. And I think I represent a crew of users because for one thing, I put money in this Zoom account, right? So that's some deep relationship there. And for the other thing, everyone else is using the Zoom I'm using right now. So I'm not gonna switch to another product just for that. And this network effect and also this involvement of economic makes it very hard for Web3 to fully remove to replace the Web2 products, in my opinion. But the upside is maybe some in the future, Zoom itself will adopt the concept of Web3 and revolutionize themselves due to some unstoppable trend. And in that case, I think it could happen as well. Well, so my answer, to put it simple, I'm not sure.
By the way, that's a good answer. I understand and I agree with the example that you gave. What is Web 2.5 according to you?
A lot of the dApps right now are Web 2.5. So my definition for that is the user's assets in those products are still controlled by a single private key instead of a smart contract governed by blockchain. So I can give you an example right now. So let's say a game, right? So if they have if all the assets in the game, like a sword or armor, it's tokenized as assets, and the user can have those assets. But in the backend, the logics of how the user can get those armors and how the user could lose the swords are still programmed in are still hard coded in a server, and it's controlled by the builder of the game. Then it means that the assets can anytime be taken from that user. So even though at the moment the user exists so in other words, they don't own their assets, right? So that's that I think that you get my idea here. So for this kind of applications, we've seen a lot of them. And that's the concept, what I call a Web2 dApp. And comparing to that, what I think consensus algorithm will be able to verify that. So that's something what I call Web3.
And what's your take on the data ownership? And that obviously ventures into the NFT part. How do you envision it in the future, and also relate with that Web 2.5?
I think all the Web 2.5 projects, they will definitely moving towards the Web 3. It's just a matter of time for them to do so. And also there are some limitations in terms of the infrastructure. And that's exactly what we're trying to work on. I think there are two barriers right now for the developers to do so. One of them is on the user experience side, the existence of wallets, the existence of gas fee, and also the existence of signing transactions on each user behavior. And these are the three major barriers for the user experience. So I think as an infrastructure, if someone can eliminate all these three for the users, for the developers, so that they can design and adapt that mimics the behavior of a Web 2 dApp, of a Web 2 application, I think that'd be awesome for mass adoption. And on the other hand, another barrier for the Web3 developers is the what we call scalability. right? And throughput rate. I know a lot of people are talking about this and they are trying to solve this problem, but at the end of the day, what we want to if in the case of Web3, what we want to implement in the blockchain, in the context of blockchain, is that we want to implement a full game engine using a smart contract language in the blockchain. We want to implement the Twitter's recommendation engine using a smart contract. We want to implement, a mass systems that powers eBay, that powers Amazon, and you implement that with smart contract language in a blockchain environment. So that type of scalability is something that we should be targeting. It's not like just we have 100K of TPS and that's be fine. No, the scalability has more than one metrics. The speed for confirming the transaction, the cost for each transaction, how large the data you can store in the smart contract, and how fast can your smart contract go. That's all something that we need to consider. So these two barriers, I think, is the main problem right now.
Okay, this is my understanding of the blockchain world. It's pretty much secure as far as hacking and all those things are concerned. But when you apply that to the metaverse, probably cybersecurity is required more. That's my understanding. Do you agree with that? And how much of a role do you see cybersecurity as an industry within Web 3.0 and metaverse when we're talking about these transactions from one platform to the other?
I think this is definitely a severe problem for every single dev developers and every single users, because once we really have 1 billion users using Web3 dApps, right? So you can imagine how much assets accumulated and stored in a single blockchain platform, and it would be very dangerous to. It would even, I think, destroy a country or destroy a continent overnight if something like that happens. So what we can do now, I think two things. One, I'm not talking about like smart contract audits. That's just one approach of it. But eventually, by the end of the day, if we were to measure the security of a system, there's only two metrics. One metric is the cost of attacking it. Another metric is the benefit of a successful attack. And only when the cost of attacking is below, only when the cost of attacking is above the largely exceeds the benefit you can receive when you successfully attack it, will give you a secured mechanism, will give you a secure system. That's how we measure the security of a blockchain ecosystem. And for a lot of times, this is done by incorporating a token economics. It's also going to be something that we will consider for our own system. But I think Ethereum has done a great job for that. I'm not sure about the transition to POS, but I think for at least for the past period, the accumulated time it has been running, and also the market cap of it, the amount of users who are spending time on top of that, I think all of those constitutes the cost of attacking it. And when that cost is the highest in the industry, then for us, we would definitely choose that as a security layer. And I think this will be the kind of the trend for all the different infrastructure in the future. As the concept of modular blockchain goes stronger, I think more and more infrastructures will be considering derive the security from Ethereum directly instead of building their own source of security. And in this way, I think people can worry less when the source of security comes from one single place, and the attack cost of that source is largely exceeding the benefit you can get from it. I hope this is not that very big description to you.
No, it makes sense to me. How big of a concern it is when you talk to investors? I'm talking about cybersecurity.
They are extremely concerned. But in our specific case, since we are getting the security from Ethereum, and the next thing to worry about is whether we have a sound enough security mechanism to port that security out and into our platform. And in our specific case, we actually have a hybrid security model, adopting both fraud-proof and validity proof / sticky proof. So the principle for us is that we want to make sure the practicalness of the system in the first place, and that's why we adopt the fraud-proof system. It's less expensive than generating ZK proof, and also it helps a lot with the overall scalability of the system. But the downside of that is when you are trying to withdraw assets from Rooch to another layer 1, you need to wait for a challenge period, and that could go up to 7 days.
Okay.
And our solution to that is actually to use ZK proof to optimize that part. So we will have ZK provers in our network to be ready for generating ZK proof for a specific block of state, and it will only be on demand. So when a user is is kind of in a hurry for getting his transaction or her transaction confirmed, they can request the ZK prover to generate ZK proof specifically for that part of state, and they can pay a fee for that. And under that circumstances, they can largely cut down the challenge period to a much lower time. And
how much roughly would that be?
It could be around 20 to 30 minutes. Yeah. So if you pay a fee, so in that case, we're trying to creating a free marketplace between the time you need to wait and also the money you are willing to pay for the transaction fee. And we hope that also we are trying to adopt the concept of free market. So we will we'll establish a market like this one and let the user to decide whether they want it to be faster or they want it to be slower.
See. All right, I've come to the end of my podcast. Thank you so much for joining, Haichao Zhu. I really learned a lot of things. That was quite enlightening session for me. All right, thank you so much for joining us. I wish that we could have another episode with you, probably towards the start of 2024, where the market would have changed a bit, so we could have a conversation around those changes. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, same here. Looking forward to that. I hope I can answer questions better by that time.
I'm sure you will. All right. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.